Introduction. Tonight, we're stepping into a quiet corner of history, a place where human imagination created inventions so strange, so unexpected, that many people still don't believe they truly existed. These unusual creations were real, designed with purpose, tested in the world, and remembered today as fascinating echoes of human curiosity. Settle in, relax, and let your mind drift as we uncover the strangest inventions you never knew existed. The baby cage. In the early decades of the 20th century, urban life in large American and European cities created a new set of challenges for families raising young children. Apartments grew smaller, buildings rose higher, and access to natural light and fresh air became limited for many residents. Among parents and doctors of the time, there was a growing belief that infants needed daily exposure to outdoor air to strengthen their health. Within this environment, the invention known as the baby cage emerged as an unusual and surprising attempt to solve a very practical problem. The baby cage was a metal enclosure designed to be attached directly to the outside of apartment windows, usually several floors above the street. It looked like a small, reinforced balcony made specifically for infants. The structure was built from steel wire, had a flat bottom, and was often covered with a mesh top that ensured the child could not fall out. The idea was simple. The child would be placed inside the cage, the window would be opened, and the baby would sit or lie suspended above the city while enjoying open air and sunlight. It brought together the concepts of safety engineering and early childhood care in an unusual and visually striking form. This invention gained attention in the 1930s, especially in densely populated areas like London and New York. Some mothers' associations supported the concept because it provided a way for children living in small apartments to receive outdoor time without requiring access to a yard or rooftop. The cages were marketed as scientifically grounded, drawing on the popular medical advice of the era that emphasized the importance of fresh air for preventing illness and improving physical development. Advertisements often portrayed calm babies wrapped in blankets, resting peacefully while city life continued below them. Despite its practical intentions, the baby cage carried an inherent sense of risk. As buildings grew taller and cities busier, the idea of placing a child outside a high window raised concerns among neighbors and passersby. The safety of the metal bars, the reliability of the window frame, and the unpredictable nature of urban weather all contributed to a gradual shift in public opinion. While the design was engineered to hold weight securely, many parents became uncomfortable with the concept of leaving an infant suspended above the street with only a metal grid between them and open air. Over time, changing attitudes toward child safety and evolving housing standards made the baby cage seem outdated. As new regulations appeared and urban planning advanced, apartments began offering safer forms of ventilation, and pediatric guidelines shifted toward more controlled environments for infants. The initial medical belief that fresh outdoor air was essential remained, but the method of providing it changed. Instead of cages attached to window frames, parents began relying on strollers, parks, and supervised outdoor walks. By the mid-20th century, the baby cage had become more of a curiosity than a real parenting tool. Today, it is often recalled as one of the strangest inventions to emerge during a period of rapid urbanization, reflecting both the creativity and the limitations of its time. It stands as a reminder of how technology and social norms evolve together, and how solutions that once appeared practical can later seem unusual through the lens of modern standards. While the baby cage eventually disappeared from everyday use, its existence captures a unique moment in the history of childcare, shaped by the challenges of growing cities and the desire to give children access to the outside world in any way possible. The Tomatan. In the world of long-distance running, athletes often search for new ways to maintain energy and stay balanced during demanding physical challenges. As marathons grew in popularity across Japan, attention turned toward simple, natural sources of nutrition that could support endurance. Tomatoes, rich in electrolytes, hydration, and antioxidants, became a preferred snack among many Japanese runners. This practical habit eventually inspired one of the most unusual inventions in modern sports culture: a wearable robot known as the Tomatan. The Tomatan is a small, backpack-like machine crafted to sit on a runner's shoulders. It features a plastic humanoid shape with mechanical arms designed to lift tomatoes directly to the athlete's mouth. Behind its playful appearance lies an intention rooted in sports science. The device was created by a Japanese food company that wanted to promote tomatoes as a beneficial running snack while showcasing a lighthearted approach to athletic nutrition. Their engineers designed the Tomatan as both a functional prototype and a symbolic demonstration of how everyday foods could be integrated into exercise routines. The robot carries several medium-sized tomatoes in a small compartment on its back. During use, gears and levers coordinate to move one tomato at a time along a short track. The mechanical hands rotate forward in a smooth motion and bring the tomato close enough for the runner to bite. The process is timed to match a steady running pace, allowing the athlete to eat without stopping or adjusting their stride. This motion required careful balancing, because the rhythm of long-distance running demands consistency, and any interruption could affect performance. Although the Tomatan appears humorous at first glance, its construction reflects precise engineering. Designers used lightweight materials to avoid overburdening the runner, and the internal mechanisms were adjusted to withstand repeated motion over long distances. The project involved planning for vibration, sweat, shifting movement, and uneven terrain. Even with this preparation, the robot was not intended for professional competition, but rather as a demonstration model that combined robotics, nutrition science, and marketing in a creative way. When the Tomatan was introduced to the public, it caught widespread attention. Images of runners moving through the streets with a tomato-feeding robot on their shoulders quickly circulated online. The contrast between a serious athletic environment and the playful, toy-like device created a memorable impression. The invention became a symbol of Japan's approach to combining technological experimentation with everyday activities, and it highlighted the country's ongoing interest in robotics as a part of daily life rather than only industrial use. Although it never entered mainstream athletic gear, the Tomatan's purpose extended beyond practical application. It sparked discussions about wearable nutrition devices and the role of robotics in supporting human activity. Engineers and designers continued exploring how machines could assist with hydration, energy intake, and physical comfort during long-duration exercise. The Tomatan also became an example of how unconventional ideas can draw attention to scientific principles. By emphasizing the nutritional value of tomatoes in an unexpected format, it brought greater awareness to the importance of natural electrolytes and antioxidants for maintaining physical stamina. In its short public life, the Tomatan stood as a combination of humor and innovation. It represented a moment when creativity intersected with science in a way that captured global curiosity. For the runners who tried it, the device offered a unique, memorable experience that blended physical exertion with an unusual technological companion. Although it was never meant to revolutionize marathon running, it left behind a vivid impression as one of the strangest inventions of its era. Today, the Tomatan remains a well-known example of experimental wearable technology. It illustrates how inventive minds can take a simple idea, the desire to eat a tomato during a run, and expand it into something unexpected. Through this invention, the boundary between nutrition and robotics briefly merged, creating a small but fascinating chapter in the history of sports innovation. The Anti-Bandit Briefcase. In the mid-20th century, banks and financial institutions faced a growing challenge related to the transportation of cash through busy urban environments. Security guards and couriers needed a reliable way to move large sums of money without drawing unnecessary attention. Yet the risks continued to rise as cities expanded and criminal tactics became more sophisticated. It was during this period that inventors and security specialists developed an unusual mechanical solution intended to protect couriers during a robbery attempt. This invention became known as the Anti-Bandit Briefcase. The Anti-Bandit Briefcase was designed to resemble an ordinary business case. Its external appearance was deliberately understated so that it would not alert potential thieves. Inside, however, the case contained a compact system of mechanical triggers, chemical capsules, and locking components. These elements worked together to activate a defensive response the moment the carrier released their grip under duress. The internal mechanism was calibrated so that the system would not engage during normal use, ensuring that daily handling, transport, and storage did not accidentally activate the protection features. Once triggered, the briefcase deployed several defensive measures. One of the most recognizable was a set of die capsules filled with indelible ink. When released, the die coated both the money and the thief's hands, making the stolen cash unusable and linking the suspect directly to the crime. Some models included an additional layer of security, a slow-diffusing gas designed to disorient the thief long enough for the courier to distance themselves or call for help. The gas was non-lethal but created enough discomfort to disrupt the robbery and reduce the likelihood of a clean escape. The engineering of the briefcase focused heavily on timing and reliability. The trigger mechanism required careful calibration so that it activated only in situations consistent with a forced theft. Most versions used a pressure-sensitive handle that responded to sudden release. If a courier was threatened and forced to drop the case, the internal springs and levers responded instantly, releasing die through vents and sealing the interior with a locking plate. The briefcase then became heavy, difficult to open, and visibly marked with color. For a thief, the value of the contents diminished the moment the die touched the bills. Security teams during this period regarded the device as an early experiment in mechanical deterrence. The idea reflected a shift in philosophy. Instead of preventing theft entirely, the briefcase was designed to ensure that any stolen money would be useless. This approach transformed the dynamics of cash transport by discouraging attempts outright. Many thieves learned that even if they managed to take the case, the contents inside were unlikely to be spendable. In this way, the invention served not only as a defensive tool but also as a psychological barrier. Although the Anti-Bandit Briefcase was effective in many documented cases, its adoption varied between institutions. Some couriers appreciated the added layer of protection, while others found the device heavy and its mechanisms somewhat unpredictable. The need to maintain the internal components required regular inspections by specialists, and the chemical capsules needed replacement after long periods of storage. Still, for companies that handled large financial transfers, the briefcase provided a sense of modernized security during a time when alternatives were limited. As technology advanced, electronic systems gradually replaced mechanical designs. Modern money transport solutions began incorporating GPS tracking, silent alarms, biometric locks, and remote monitoring. Compared to these developments, the Anti-Bandit Briefcase eventually appeared outdated. Yet it holds an important place in the evolution of security technology. It represents a moment when engineers relied on purely mechanical ingenuity to solve problems that would later be managed by digital systems. Today, the Anti-Bandit Briefcase is often remembered as one of the most unusual and visually dramatic security inventions of its era. When dye erupted from inside the metal frame, the event left behind a vivid trace that revealed both the presence of the crime and the effectiveness of the device. It stands as a reminder of the period when inventors explored creative, physical methods to safeguard valuable assets, and it demonstrates how innovation can emerge in response to the very real pressures of urban economic life. Though no longer widely used, the briefcase remains a symbol of early mechanical security engineering. Its combination of simplicity, reliability, and dramatic visual impact ensured its place among the strangest inventions created to make everyday tasks safer for those who carried the financial responsibilities of their institutions across busy city streets. The Hug Me Jacket. In the early years of wearable technology, many inventors focused on practical tools designed to support physical performance, communication, or mobility. Yet a parallel trend emerged in the field of emotional well-being, where researchers began exploring how clothing and devices could influence feelings of comfort and human connection. Among these experimental ideas, one invention stood out for its attempt to replicate one of the most fundamental forms of emotional support, the simple act of a hug. This creation became known as the Hug Me Jacket. The Hug Me Jacket was developed as a soft, padded garment embedded with a network of inflatable chambers and pressure-responsive sensors. On the surface, it resembled a standard winter coat, warm and slightly oversized, with a smooth fabric exterior and a gentle inner lining. Inside its layers, however, engineers placed a system of small air bladders connected to a compact pump located near the waistband. These bladders were designed to expand slowly, tightening around the wearer's torso in a controlled, even motion. When activated, the jacket simulated the steady pressure of human arms wrapped around the body. The concept behind the invention came from studies in psychology and physiology showing that gentle pressure on the upper body can lower stress levels, slow breathing, and trigger a calming response in the nervous system. Researchers recognized that many people living in fast-paced cities experienced high levels of emotional strain and loneliness. The jacket was designed as a tool that could be used privately, providing a moment of warmth and reassurance without requiring the presence of another person. Its purpose was not to replace human interaction but to offer support during moments when comfort felt out of reach. Activation of the jacket was simple. The wearer pressed a small button located on the inside of the sleeve. This initiated a gradual inflation sequence, controlled by programmed pressure levels that ensured the sensation remained gentle rather than restrictive. Engineers paid particular attention to the pattern of inflation, making the pressure distribute evenly across the chest and upper back. The feeling it created was slow, rhythmic, and steady. The system then held this pressure for a short period before releasing the air quietly through hidden valves. The cycle could be repeated as often as needed. While the Hug Me jacket attracted attention for its emotional purpose, it was also recognized for its engineering precision. The combination of soft materials, silent mechanisms, and carefully measured pressure required extensive testing. Designers examined how different body types responded to the inflation pattern and how long each cycle should last to maintain comfort. The pump had to remain quiet enough so the experience would feel natural rather than mechanical. These considerations shaped the evolution of the jacket into a device that blended technology with a sense of human warmth. When it was first showcased at technology exhibitions, the jacket generated a mixture of curiosity and empathy. Visitors observed how individuals wearing the garment gradually relaxed, their shoulders lowering and their breathing slowing. Many were struck by the simplicity of the idea, a coat that offered a small moment of emotional grounding in an increasingly complex digital world. This response demonstrated the growing interest in technologies that addressed emotional needs alongside physical ones. The Hug Me jacket represented an early attempt to bridge that gap. Although the jacket never became a mainstream product, it influenced discussions about the role of wearable devices in mental health support. It encouraged further exploration of how controlled pressure, warmth, and tactile feedback could be applied to therapeutic settings. Some researchers used similar concepts to develop calming tools for individuals with sensory sensitivities, while others examined how wearable pressure systems might aid stress reduction in high-intensity work environments. Today, the Hug Me jacket stands as an example of how inventive thinking can shape emotional technology. It reflects a period when designers began recognizing that well-being extends beyond physical health. The invention captured the idea that comfort can be engineered, not to replace human presence but to complement it during difficult moments. Through its quiet inflation and gentle embrace, the Hug Me jacket offered a brief sense of stability in a world that often felt overwhelming, reminding its wearers that even small innovations can make the human experience feel a little more supported. The Selfie Toaster. The rise of personalized consumer products in the early 21st century encouraged designers to experiment with everyday household appliances. As digital culture became intertwined with daily routines, the idea of turning simple moments into expressions of individuality grew increasingly appealing. It was within this environment that an unusual and highly recognizable invention appeared, a toaster capable of imprinting a person's face onto a slice of bread. This device became known as the Selfie Toaster. The core concept behind the Selfie Toaster was straightforward. A personalized metal plate, shaped with shallow ridges and recessed lines, was inserted inside the toaster. When the bread heated against the plate, the raised sections toasted more quickly, creating defined, darker areas. The recessed portions remained lighter, forming a recognizable portrait. Engineers adapted this technique from manufacturing processes that used heat stamping to imprint patterns on thin materials. By translating the method into a kitchen appliance, they created a functional device that blended novelty with a familiar morning ritual. Manufacturers developed a system that allowed customers to submit a photograph, which was then converted into a simplified image suitable for heat transfer. The digital file was processed through software that analyzed contrast, shape, and the distribution of shadows. Only the most essential elements, jawline, eyes, nose, and hair outline, were preserved. These details were etched onto a stainless steel plate using a controlled cutting tool. The result was a custom heating surface capable of transferring a stylized representation of the user's face onto toasted bread. Although playful in appearance, the invention required careful calibration. Heating elements inside the toaster had to distribute warmth evenly to avoid burning or under-toasting the bread. The portrait plate needed to withstand repeated exposure to high temperatures without warping. Designers ensured that the imagery remained stable over time, even after dozens of uses. This combination of durability and precision turned what could have been a simple novelty into a reliably functioning appliance. When the Selfie Toaster reached the consumer market, it quickly captured attention online. Images of personalized toast circulated through social media, reinforcing the device's connection to digital culture. The act of turning a photograph into a breakfast item created a light-hearted contrast between technology and domestic life. For many users, the attraction lay not in the practicality but in the experience itself. The toaster offered a small moment of amusement and personalization at the beginning of the day, transforming an ordinary meal into a playful expression of identity. Beyond its novelty, the invention represented an early example of how customization technologies were moving into everyday environments. Over time, similar personalization techniques appeared in clothing, accessories, packaging, and consumer electronics. The Selfie Toaster stood at the intersection of this trend, illustrating how digital imagery could influence the design of even the most traditional household objects. Its popularity signaled a shift toward products that offered emotional value as well as functionality. The toaster also highlighted the broader relationship between consumer behavior and personalization. As individuals increasingly curated their online identities, the appeal of unique physical items grew stronger. The Selfie Toaster provided a tangible representation of that identity in a form both temporary and repeatable. Each slice of toast became a brief reflection of the user's digital self, disappearing the moment it was eaten yet recreated again with the next batch. Although the Selfie Toaster never became an essential appliance, its novelty endured. It found a place in tech exhibitions, gift lists, and collections of unusual modern inventions. Many regarded it as an example of how creativity could shape the simplest aspects of domestic life. Others saw it as a lighthearted reminder that technology often evolves in unexpected directions, blending humor with engineering in ways that resonate with contemporary culture. Today, the Selfie Toaster remains one of the more memorable inventions to emerge from the era of personalization. It demonstrates how manufacturers responded to the growing influence of digital imagery by transforming it into an everyday object. Through a combination of heat, metal, and carefully processed photographs, it offered users a small, enjoyable experience that reflected both the technological innovation and the playful spirit of its time. The Ostrich Pillow. As modern life accelerated and work environments became increasingly demanding, researchers and designers began paying closer attention to the effects of fatigue on the human body. Long commutes, crowded offices, and a constant stream of digital information created conditions in which short periods of rest became both valuable and difficult to obtain. It was during this cultural shift that an unusual and instantly recognizable invention appeared: a padded, cocoon-like sleeping aid known as the Ostrich Pillow. The Ostrich Pillow was developed as a wearable microenvironment for rest. Unlike traditional neck pillows or sleep masks, it enveloped the user's head entirely. Its soft, rounded structure resembled a cushioned helmet with openings for the mouth and nose, and a pair of side holes designed to allow the user to rest their hands inside. The shape was inspired by the idea of retreating into a small, personal space, similar to how an ostrich was once mistakenly believed to bury its head for protection. Although the resemblance was whimsical, the design served a clear ergonomic purpose. Researchers studying midday fatigue found that short rest periods could restore concentration, reduce stress, and improve cognitive performance. However, the environments in which people worked were rarely suited for meaningful breaks. The Ostrich Pillow addressed this problem by creating an insulated microzone that softened external noise, dimmed light, and provided gentle pressure around the head. Its interior was filled with soft micropads that conformed naturally to the user's face and arms, distributing weight evenly and reducing points of tension. The materials chosen for the pillow emphasized comfort and breathability. The outer fabric was smooth and flexible, allowing the structure to maintain its shape while still adapting to different head sizes. Inside, the micropads created a lightweight yet supportive texture. When worn, the pillow slightly muted surrounding sounds, creating a sense of separation from the outside world. This isolation was not complete silence, but a reduction of sensory stimulation that facilitated quick relaxation during short breaks. The design supported multiple resting positions. A person sitting at a desk could lean forward, inserting their hands into the side openings while letting the front padding cradle their forehead. This posture distributed weight across the upper body and minimized strain on the neck. Others used the pillow while seated upright, relying on its full surrounding structure to maintain comfort. The flexibility of these positions made the invention suitable for offices, airports, libraries, and any environment where brief rest was difficult to achieve. When the Ostrich Pillow was first introduced through a crowdfunding campaign, it attracted widespread attention for its unconventional appearance. Images of individuals wearing the pillow in open workspaces or public transportation created a mixture of curiosity, amusement, and genuine interest. The unusual shape challenged traditional ideas about how people were expected to rest in public. By offering a physical space dedicated to personal comfort, the invention highlighted how modern environments often lacked accommodations for short, restorative pauses. Despite its playful visual identity, the Ostrich Pillow represented a broader shift in design philosophy. It demonstrated an awareness of the growing need for mental restoration within fast-paced settings. Many early adopters described how the device helped them manage long work hours, intense study sessions, or extended travel. Although the pillow did not eliminate fatigue, it provided a structured opportunity for brief, meaningful recovery, making it valuable in situations where traditional rest was not possible. Over time, variations of the original design were introduced, including smaller travel-friendly versions and models that focused on neck support rather than full head enclosure. Each iteration reflected ongoing interest in the relationship between comfort, productivity, and the built environment. The original Ostrich Pillow, however, remained the most iconic, known for transforming a simple concept, momentary rest, into a visually striking and memorable object. Today, the Ostrich Pillow is often cited as one of the most unusual yet thoughtful inventions of its time. It symbolizes the intersection of ergonomics, well-being, and creative design. By offering users a brief escape from overstimulation, it captured the desire for stillness in an increasingly demanding world. Its soft, enclosed form provided a small sanctuary for the mind, reminding people that even within busy modern life, moments of rest could be engineered with care and imagination. The motorized ice cream cone. As small consumer gadgets evolved through the late 20th and early 21st centuries, inventors increasingly focused on turning ordinary daily actions into moments of novelty and convenience. Even the simplest activities, such as eating an ice cream cone, became subjects of playful experimentation. Among the unusual creations that emerged from this trend was a device designed to rotate ice cream automatically, allowing the user to enjoy it without turning the cone by hand. This invention became known as the motorized ice cream cone. At first glance, the device resembled a standard plastic cone with a wide base for stability. Inside the base, however, sat a compact battery-powered motor connected to a small platform that rotated the ice cream at a constant speed. When activated by pressing a button on the side, the platform slowly turned, bringing each part of the ice cream surface toward the user's mouth. The concept was simple. Instead of adjusting one's wrist position repeatedly while eating, the cone itself would handle the motion. The invention stemmed from the idea that consistent rotation could create a more even melting pattern, preventing ice cream from dripping too quickly on one side. Engineers who worked on the prototype designed the turning mechanism to move slowly enough to avoid imbalance. The movement was gentle, steady, and predictable. This allowed the user to take bites without adjusting their grip, creating a controlled and uniform eating experience. Though the practicality of such a device was often debated, its construction required attention to weight distribution, torque, and battery efficiency to keep it both functional and light enough to hold comfortably. The materials used for the motorized ice cream cone emphasized easy cleaning and durability. The rotating platform was removable, allowing users to rinse it after each use. The outer shell was made from food-safe plastic, designed to withstand temperature changes and repeated handling. The motor was protected by a sealed compartment to prevent moisture from seeping inside. These details ensured that the device could withstand the challenges of holding cold, melting ice cream without compromising its mechanics. When the cone debuted, it quickly attracted attention in novelty shops and gift catalogs. Its appearance, half toy, half kitchen gadget, captured the imagination of buyers looking for an amusing twist on a familiar treat. Many found the device entertaining, especially for children or for events where unusual gadgets added an element of fun. Videos showing the cone in action circulated online, demonstrating how the ice cream rotated smoothly with minimal effort from the user. Although its purpose was lighthearted, it represented a broader cultural moment when inventors explored how technology could be integrated into even the most ordinary pleasures. Despite the novelty, the motorized ice cream cone also revealed interesting engineering principles. The controlled rotation required designers to calculate the ideal speed for the motor, ensuring that the ice cream did not fall off the platform or melt unevenly. They tested various cone shapes, platform diameters, and gear configurations before arriving at a design that could support a standard scoop without strain. These experiments demonstrated how playful inventions often rely on the same thoughtful processes used in more serious engineering tasks. Over time, the device became a symbol of whimsical innovation. Many saw it as a reminder that creativity in product design is not limited to solving complex problems. It can also transform simple experiences into moments of light amusement. While the motorized ice cream cone never became a mainstream household item, it maintained popularity as a novelty gift. Its charm lay in its unusual combination of practicality and humor, offering a brief escape from routine through mechanical motion and a familiar dessert. Today, the invention stands as one of the most memorable examples of small-scale gadget creativity. It reflects the era's fascination with turning everyday routines into personalized, technologically enhanced encounters. The motorized ice cream cone demonstrates how even a dessert can inspire a unique intersection of engineering, entertainment, and imagination. Through its gentle rotation and playful design, it transformed a universally enjoyed treat into a small, rotating display of human ingenuity. The Daddle, the Dad Saddle. Among the many unusual inventions that appeared throughout the late 20th and early 21st centuries, few stand out the way the Daddle does. Often referred to as the Dad Saddle, it occupies a peculiar space between humor, practicality, and pure imaginative play. At its core, the invention is simple: a small fabric saddle designed to be strapped onto the back of an adult, allowing a child to sit comfortably while pretending to ride a horse. Yet the idea carries a distinct charm that has captured attention far beyond its original audience. The Daddle emerged from an observation that countless parents around the world had already acted out for generations. Children naturally climb onto the backs of adults, turning them into playful companions in their imaginative games. Those moments are spontaneous, timeless, and rooted in early childhood curiosity. The creators of the Daddle took this familiar behavior and attempted to formalize it into a structured object, giving physical shape to something that had previously existed only as a fleeting interaction. The result was a padded saddle made of soft materials, shaped to distribute weight more comfortably, and equipped with straps that kept it firmly secured during play. Its design was intentionally gentle, relying on lightweight fabric and foam rather than rigid components. This gave the saddle flexibility, preventing discomfort for the adult while providing a stable seat for the child. The colors and contours were reminiscent of traditional horseback saddles but softened, making the object feel approachable rather than overly realistic. The product's goal was not to create a perfect simulation of riding, but to elevate a familiar experience into something more memorable and engaging. When the Daddle was first introduced to the public, reactions varied widely. Some people saw it as a clever accessory that brought structure and comfort to a common form of parent-child bonding. Others regarded it as an inherently comedic invention, something designed almost as much for amusement as for practical use. Images of adults crawling on the floor with a miniature saddle strapped to their backs quickly became a source of online entertainment. These reactions, however, only amplified the product's visibility and helped secure its status as one of the most unusual inventions to gain widespread recognition. The marketing for the Daddle focused not on the absurdity but on the emotional value of creating shared experiences. Advertisements framed it as an opportunity for parents to engage with their children in a way that felt both playful and involved. In many households, it became a symbol of dedicated time, a few minutes set aside to participate fully in a child's imagination. The saddle encouraged adults to slow down, kneel on the carpet, and allow themselves to inhabit a role far removed from everyday responsibilities. Despite the simplicity of the concept, the Daddle also reflected a more modern trend: the transformation of ordinary moments into purchasable experiences. In earlier generations, a child's horse ride on a parent's back required nothing but enthusiasm. But as consumer culture expanded, so did the desire to enhance these moments with specialized objects. The Daddle became a representation of this shift, showing how inventors could turn something traditional into a commercial product without losing the essence of its charm. People who used it often described the invention not as a necessity but as a tool that made playtime feel more meaningful. For children, the saddle created a sense of adventure, turning a simple piggyback ride into a small journey through living rooms, hallways, and backyards. For adults, it added cushioning that made the experience more comfortable, allowing them to stay engaged for longer periods without strain. This combination of comfort and novelty helped the Daddle earn its place among the most peculiar yet warmly received inventions of its era. As time passed, the Daddle became more than just a humorous entry in lists of strange products. It represented the way imagination, humor, and family connection could be woven into a physical object. While it never aimed to solve a serious problem or revolutionize everyday life, it succeeded in creating joy and capturing attention. Its unusual design, playful spirit, and unmistakable visual appearance ensured that it would be remembered long after many more practical devices faded from public memory. The legacy of the Daddle lies in its simplicity. It exists not because it was needed, but because someone saw value in transforming a small moment of childhood play into something more vivid. Among the strangest inventions of its time, it stands out as a reminder that creativity often thrives in the lighthearted corners of human experience, where imagination turns even the most ordinary gestures into something surprisingly memorable. The toilet paper hat. Among the many inventions that blur the line between practicality and absurdity, the toilet paper hat stands as one of the most memorable. Its concept is disarmingly straightforward: a small, wearable frame designed to hold a roll of toilet paper directly on a person's head, allowing instant access to tissues whenever needed. At first glance, the invention appears almost comedic, as though it belongs more in a novelty shop than in the history of real consumer products. Yet it was created with sincere intentions, driven by the idea of offering convenience during moments when one's hands might be occupied or when tissues were not readily available. The toilet paper hat emerged during a period when inventors experimented freely with personal accessories aimed at solving minor daily inconveniences. It was presented as a portable dispenser, allowing the wearer to simply reach up and tear off a sheet of toilet paper whenever necessary. The design typically featured an adjustable headband, a small vertical support, and a horizontal bar that held the roll securely in place. Some versions even included small plastic guards meant to keep the roll steady while walking. In its promotional material, the invention was framed as a tool for people dealing with colds, allergies, or household chores that required frequent wiping. Its appearance, however, made it instantly amusing. The visual of a full roll of toilet paper perched atop a person's head created a sense of intentional exaggeration, as if the invention leaned into its own silliness. This unusual aesthetic quickly captured attention in magazines and television segments that highlighted peculiar innovations. It became a symbol of the era's appetite for quirky problem-solving, where everyday objects could be reimagined in unexpected ways. Despite its humorous nature, the toilet paper hat had a small but dedicated audience. People who worked outdoors, such as gardeners or construction workers, sometimes appreciated the convenience of having tissues readily accessible while keeping their hands free. Parents caring for young children found value in the idea during cold seasons, when tissues were constantly needed but not always nearby. Though these practical uses existed, the invention never fully escaped its reputation as a novelty item. This blend of sincere purpose and comedic effect helped it maintain a unique place in discussions about unconventional products. The toilet paper hat also reflected a larger trend in consumer culture: the desire to transform ordinary objects into wearable items. During the time of its release, there was increased experimentation with head-mounted accessories, portable gear, and hands-free conveniences. The hat fit naturally within that context, even if it stood out due to its unusual choice of function. Its design was proof of how inventors often explored ideas without limiting themselves to traditional expectations of what a wearable product should be. Public reaction to the invention played an important role in shaping its legacy. Many people shared images of it purely for entertainment, placing it alongside other humorous gadgets that seemed to exist more for conversation than for daily use. Yet this reaction did not diminish the invention's charm. In a way, the toilet paper hat became a cultural artifact, an example of how creativity can take a mundane household item and transform it into something unexpected, even if the result is more whimsical than essential. Over time, the invention faded from mainstream visibility, but it continued to appear in lists of the strangest inventions ever made. Its design, while simple, carried a sense of boldness. It challenged the boundary between functionality and humor, presenting a product that delivered convenience in an undeniably unconventional form. For many people, it represented the spirit of inventors who approached problem-solving with an open mind, unafraid to create something that might provoke laughter as well as curiosity. In the broader landscape of unusual inventions, the toilet paper hat remains a symbol of imaginative thinking. It shows how even the most ordinary objects can be reinterpreted in ways that surprise, amuse, and occasionally assist. Though few people ever wore it outside of playful settings, its existence continues to capture attention, reminding us that innovation often flourishes in the space where practicality meets a touch of harmless absurdity. The Baby Mop. Among the most unusual inventions to gain worldwide attention, the Baby Mop occupies a special place. An idea so simple, so unexpected, that it immediately sparked both amusement and curiosity. The invention presents an image that is almost surreal at first glance. A soft baby onesie covered with long mop-like microfiber strands attached to the arms, legs, and belly. Its purpose was straightforward: allow a crawling infant to clean the floor while moving naturally around the house. The idea blended humor with a hint of practicality, turning an ordinary stage of childhood development into a cleaning opportunity. The Baby Mop originated from the notion that crawling babies already spend much of their time close to the floor. Inventors wondered whether that movement could be transformed into something useful, especially for parents struggling to keep their homes tidy. The design involved attaching absorbent microfiber materials to a regular onesie, creating a garment capable of collecting dust, crumbs, and small debris. The child's natural movements, crawling forward, sliding across the floor, or shifting from side to side, would activate the cleaning process without requiring any additional effort. When the Baby Mop was first introduced, it was presented with a mix of sincerity and humor. Marketing materials often played into the comedic angle, showing smiling infants gliding across shiny hardwood floors. At the same time, the product also emphasized its potential usefulness, highlighting the durability of the fabric and the convenience it offered busy parents. This dual identity, half novelty, half practical tool, helped the Baby Mop gain rapid popularity online, where people debated whether it was clever, absurd, or a surprisingly efficient idea. Despite its playful nature, the design was crafted with care. The microfiber strands were soft enough not to restrict an infant's movement, and the suit itself functioned like any regular onesie, ensuring comfort and safety. The materials were washable, allowing parents to reuse the garment multiple times. While the concept seemed unconventional, it fit within a broader category of inventions that attempted to integrate everyday chores into ordinary family life in creative ways. Public reaction played a major role in shaping the Baby Mop's legacy. Some people saw it as a lighthearted addition to parenting, something meant to bring laughter into the home while offering a small benefit. Others treated it purely as a novelty gift, the kind of item purchased for amusement rather than daily use. A smaller group of parents genuinely embraced the invention, appreciating the idea of turning a baby's natural activity into a playful cleaning method. Regardless of how it was used, the baby mop quickly became a recognizable symbol of inventive thinking taken to humorous extremes. The invention also reflected a shift in the consumer market, where designers experimented more openly with blending humor and function. It demonstrated that an idea did not need to be groundbreaking or technologically complex to capture public interest. Sometimes an everyday observation, such as a baby crawling, was enough to inspire a product that would become internationally talked about. The baby mop's charm came from this simplicity. It offered a window into how inventors reinterpret familiar moments in daily life, transforming them into objects that are memorable precisely because of their unconventional nature. As time passed, the baby mop found a place in lists of the strangest inventions ever created. It was frequently discussed alongside other humorous household gadgets, becoming part of a cultural conversation about the limits of creativity. Even though many people never used it as a serious cleaning solution, its image endured, reminding people of the playful side of invention. It became a symbol of imaginative problem-solving, an example of how even the most ordinary routines can inspire unexpected ideas. In the world of unusual inventions, the baby mop remains one of the most recognizable. It embodies a blend of practicality, comedy, and genuine creativity. Though its impact on household cleaning was minimal, its impact on public imagination was far greater. It stands as a reminder that innovation does not always need to be serious to leave a lasting impression. Sometimes, it simply needs to be bold enough to take a familiar moment and turn it into something unforgettable. The pet rock. Among the most iconic novelty inventions of the 1970s, the pet rock stands out as a creation that seemed almost too simple to be real. It was, quite literally, an ordinary smooth stone packaged and sold as though it were a living companion. Yet this minimalistic idea became one of the most successful and memorable novelty products of its time. Its creator, Gary Daddle, approached the concept with a kind of deliberate humor, recognizing that many people longed for the idea of a pet without the responsibilities that came with caring for one. The result was an invention that took simplicity to an extreme and turned it into a cultural phenomenon. The pet rock was introduced during a period when novelty items were gaining popularity, and people were beginning to embrace humor as a form of consumer experience. Daddle presented the idea not as a joke, but as a fully developed product. Each rock was carefully selected, polished, and placed into a small cardboard box designed to mimic the appearance of a pet carrier. The box included air holes, a bed of straw, and a detailed instruction manual explaining how to properly care for the pet. The manual humorously described tasks such as training the rock to sit or stay, tasks that, by nature, required no effort at all. This combination of simplicity and parody quickly captured public attention. The pet rock became a commentary on consumer culture, reflecting how even the most ordinary object could be transformed into a product through clever presentation. What made it so memorable was not the object itself but the way it was framed. People were drawn to the humor behind the idea, and the invention spread rapidly through word of mouth, newspaper features, and television appearances. It became a symbol of the era's fascination with novelty and light-hearted experimentation. Despite its playful origin, the pet rock was crafted with surprising attention to detail. The packaging played a crucial role in defining the product's identity. Daddle understood that the humor depended on creating an experience, not just selling a rock. The small carrying box, reminiscent of those used for small animals, helped complete the illusion in a way that felt charming rather than absurd. Even the instruction booklet was written in a calm, earnest tone, amplifying the comedic effect by treating the rock as though it were genuinely capable of interacting with its owner. The public response was remarkable. The pet rock's appeal spanned across different age groups, from children who enjoyed the novelty to adults who appreciated the underlying humor. It was purchased as a gag gift, a desk accessory, and a playful reminder not to take life too seriously. In an era filled with new technologies and rapid cultural changes, the pet rock offered a moment of simplicity, an object that encouraged people to laugh at the idea of buying something so fundamentally unnecessary. While its popularity lasted only a short time, the pet rock left a lasting cultural imprint. It demonstrated how creativity could transform even the most ordinary item into something memorable. The invention also revealed a deeper truth about consumer habits. People are often drawn not to the object itself, but to the story and imagination that surround it. The pet rock succeeded because it provided an experience, a joke shared between creator and buyer, and a small escape from the seriousness of daily life. Over time, the pet rock became part of discussions about the strangest inventions ever marketed. It continued to be referenced in books, documentaries, and lists of unusual consumer products. Yet, unlike many eccentric inventions, it carried a sense of intentional lightness. It was not designed to solve a problem or improve efficiency. Instead, it existed purely for amusement, offering a playful reminder of how inventive thinking can emerge from the simplest objects. In the broader world of strange inventions, the pet rock remains one of the most recognizable. Its charm lies in its minimalism and the cleverness behind its presentation. It shows how imagination can elevate even a common stone into a cultural icon. Though its time in the spotlight was brief, its legacy endures, reflecting the power of humor, creativity, and the unexpected direction that invention can take when guided by a sense of fun. The Fliz human-powered bike. Among the many unconventional transportation inventions of the modern era, the Fliz human-powered bike stands out as one of the most unusual. At first glance, it resembles a minimalist bicycle frame without pedals, but the design reveals something far more unexpected. Instead of sitting on a seat and pedaling, the rider is suspended within a curved frame by a harness system, using their own legs to push off the ground and glide forward. The concept reimagines the earliest form of the bicycle, yet it presents the idea in a futuristic, almost sculptural way that captures attention immediately. The invention drew inspiration from the first pedal-less bicycles of the early 19th century, often called balance bikes or draisines. These early machines required riders to propel themselves using their feet, and the Fliz sought to revisit that simplicity, but through a completely new perspective. Instead of simply standing or sitting, the rider was supported by fabric straps that held their torso in place. This harness distributed weight evenly across the frame, allowing the person to move freely without having to maintain constant balance on a seat. The result was a motion that blended jogging and gliding, giving the rider a sense of lightness while in motion. The frame of the Fliz was shaped like a stretched arch, carefully engineered to maintain stability as the user moved underneath it. Riders would step into the harness, secure the straps, and begin walking or running. As speed increased, the wheels allowed the frame to roll smoothly, reducing friction and letting the rider glide with minimal effort. While the design required more initial movement than a traditional bicycle, it created an entirely new kind of riding experience, one that was closer to running with mechanical assistance than cycling. When the Fliz was presented to the public, it provoked immediate fascination. Many people were intrigued by its unusual silhouette, which made it appear more like a wearable device than a vehicle. Others saw it as a reinvention of movement itself, offering an alternative to traditional bikes for those who enjoyed physical activity but wanted a different kind of motion. The absence of pedals, chains, and gears simplified the machine while emphasizing the natural rhythm of human movement. The Fliz became a symbol of experimental engineering, illustrating how inventors sometimes revisit old ideas to create something entirely new. Although the invention captured widespread curiosity, it was never intended to replace standard bicycles. Instead, it functioned as a conceptual exploration, a demonstration of how transportation could be redesigned from the ground up. Engineers and designers who studied the Fliz noted its ergonomic qualities, particularly the way the harness reduced pressure on the spine and eliminated the discomfort associated with long periods of sitting. The rider's posture was upright and supported, allowing for a more open and natural alignment of the body. Public reaction was characterized by a mix of admiration and amusement. Some people celebrated the Fliz for its creativity, viewing it as a piece of modern design that challenged conventional thinking. Others saw it as impractical, suggesting that the harness resembled something meant for training rather than commuting. Despite these mixed opinions, the invention continued to attract attention at design fairs, exhibitions, and online platforms dedicated to innovative engineering. The Fliz also highlighted a broader trend in contemporary invention, the willingness to experiment with human-machine integration. Instead of simply building a device for the user to sit on, the designers imagined a structure that physically enveloped the body, making the rider part of the machine. This approach opened new possibilities for understanding how people might one day interact with personal transportation devices in more immersive ways. Over time, the Fliz became known less as a commercial product and more as a conceptual milestone. It demonstrated that even well-established inventions, like the bicycle, could be reconceived in ways that challenge expectations. Its unusual form invited discussions about the future of mobility, ergonomics, and human-powered devices. Though few people ever used it in everyday life, it succeeded in leaving a lasting impression. In the landscape of strange and innovative inventions, the Fliz human-powered bike remains one of the most distinctive. It blends history, engineering, and imagination into a form that feels both familiar and entirely new. It stands as a reminder that innovation often emerges when creators dare to question the most fundamental assumptions, even those surrounding something as universal as the act of riding a bike. The sound-controlling toilet seat. Among the many household inventions designed to bring comfort and privacy into daily life, the sound-controlling toilet seat stands out as one of the most unusual attempts to solve a problem people rarely discuss openly. Its purpose was simple: reduce or mask the sounds associated with using the bathroom. Yet the way it approached this goal was far more inventive than most would expect. The design combined acoustic materials, subtle mechanical features, and sometimes even small built-in speakers, creating a seat that attempted to turn an ordinary toilet into a quiet, controlled environment. The idea emerged from a growing interest in bathroom privacy, especially in shared households and crowded living spaces. Many people felt discomfort at the lack of sound isolation in bathrooms, and inventors began exploring how everyday fixtures could be modified to address this concern. The sound-controlling toilet seat became one of the more unconventional solutions. Rather than altering the walls or plumbing, it focused directly on the seat itself, the most immediate point of contact between the user and the fixture. Its construction relied on sound-absorbing materials embedded within the ring of the seat. These materials, often similar to those used in small acoustic panels, were chosen for their ability to dampen vibrations and reduce sharp noises. The underside of the seat sometimes included layers of foam or composite padding that softened impacts and minimized echoes. In some versions, the seat came equipped with a subtle noise-masking feature, producing a gentle airflow sound or a quiet ambient tone whenever the lid was lifted. This added another layer of privacy by blending bathroom noises into a soft, continuous background hum. When the invention was introduced to the public, reactions ranged from amusement to genuine interest. Some people viewed it as yet another example of overly specialized household innovation, an object that solved a problem often ignored. Others appreciated the thought behind it, seeing it as a practical improvement for shared environments such as dormitories, offices, or small apartments. The unusual focus on acoustic comfort made the product stand out immediately, and its appearance in catalogs and novelty showcases helped spread awareness of how creative bathroom technology had become. The design deliberately avoided appearing overly mechanical. Instead, the seat looked almost identical to standard models, blending into the bathroom without drawing attention. This subtlety was intentional, as inventors understood that users wanted privacy, not a device that advertised its purpose. The quiet technology built into the seat worked discreetly, activating only when needed and remaining unnoticed during normal use. This delicate balance between visibility and functionality made the invention feel more refined than its concept initially suggested. Despite its novelty, the sound-controlling toilet seat represented a broader shift in consumer expectations. As households became more compact and multi-purpose spaces more common, people began seeking comfort in small but meaningful ways. Innovations were no longer limited to large appliances or complex systems. Instead, inventors turned their attention to overlooked areas of daily life, asking how even the most familiar routines could be improved through subtle engineering. The result was a wave of niche products that addressed highly specific needs, with this toilet seat becoming one of the most memorable examples. Although it never achieved mass adoption, the invention gained a reputation as one of the strangest yet surprisingly thoughtful ideas to appear in home design. For people who valued privacy, it offered a quiet reassurance. For others, it stood as a reminder of how creative thinking can emerge from the most mundane corners of life. The combination of acoustic technology and bathroom utility made it both amusing and oddly practical. In the world of unusual inventions, the sound-controlling toilet seat remains a symbol of inventive problem-solving applied to everyday discomforts. It shows how innovation can thrive in unexpected places, transforming a simple household object into something more considerate and imaginative. Though its impact was small, its idea left a lasting impression. A quiet solution to a quiet problem, remembered precisely because it dared to address what people rarely talk about aloud. The face trainer. In the quiet corners of experimental psychology, there are devices that were built with earnest scientific intentions yet slowly drifted into the realm of the uncanny. The face trainer was one of them. At first glance, it did not look threatening. Just a semicircular frame of polished metal, fitted with tiny mechanical actuators, soft pressure pads, and a crown of sensors designed to read micro-expressions. Its purpose was simple, at least on paper, to help people reshape their emotional responses by training the muscles of the face. A mechanical tutor for self-control, or that was the promise. But the deeper you dive into its story, the more unsettling the layers become. The device was created in the late stages of a privately funded behavioral study, a project focused on the connection between involuntary facial contractions and subconscious emotional drift. The idea was that if you could teach the face to remain calm under stress, the mind would eventually follow. A perfectly composed mask would generate perfectly composed thoughts. That was the theory, elegant, ambitious, and dangerously naive. Participants were asked to sit in a dimly lit room, where soft ambient noise masked the faint mechanical hum of the face trainer. The machine would cup their heads gently, almost tenderly, aligning itself with the natural contours of their jaw, cheeks, and brow. Metallic tendrils rested against the skin like cold fingertips. Then, with painstaking precision, the device would nudge the muscles into the correct emotional posture. A neutral brow, a smooth forehead, a barely perceptible hint of ease around the eyes. At first, subjects described the sensation as strange but not unbearable. They even reported a kind of relief, the feeling of letting go, of surrendering control to something that promised calmness. Many told researchers that the machine made them feel lighter, as though some long-held tension was being carefully unwound. But as sessions continued, the machine began to adjust itself more aggressively. Its internal algorithms evolved, learning the micropatterns of each participant, correcting them with increasing firmness. The face trainer was built to respond to the slightest deviation from its programmed ideal. A twitch of doubt around the mouth, and the clamps tightened. A flicker of discomfort in the brow, and the actuators pulled downward to smooth it out. Over time, people stopped describing the therapy as soothing. They began describing it as insistent, too attentive, or unable to let go. What disturbed researchers the most was not the physical reaction, it was the psychological one. Participants reported feeling watched, even when the device was powered down. They described moments where they felt their facial muscles stiffen into expressions they had never consciously chosen, as if something was rehearsing itself inside them, as if the lessons of the face trainer had sunk deeper than intended. Then came the emotional leaks, a term the lead researcher reluctantly coined. Subjects began experiencing episodes where their internal states no longer matched their facial expressions. They felt anxious while smiling, calm while their eyes widened involuntarily, moments of misplaced laughter, or tears that appeared without sadness. Their emotions and their faces no longer belonged to each other. One participant explained it in a whisper. "It's like my face learned a language my mind doesn't speak." Eventually, the study collapsed under internal pressure. Too many variables, too many unexplained outcomes, too many ethical concerns hovering in the background. The device was quietly shelved, dismantled on paper, and its components boxed away. But a few prototypes escaped that fate. One sits abandoned in a storage facility, its metal frame still gleaming softly under layers of dust. If you stand close enough, some people say you can hear the faint ticking of the actuators, like the machine is remembering the faces it once held, rehearsing movements in the dark, still trying to teach silence, still correcting expressions that are no longer there. And that is the uncanny legacy of the face trainer, a device that tried to shape emotions by sculpting the face, and ended up blurring the fragile boundary between expression and identity. The Quadricycle Bed Car. Some inventions begin as jokes, others begin as curiosities, and then there are those that begin as sincere solutions to problems no one truly had, solutions that quietly wander into unsettling territory without ever intending to. The Quadricycle Bed Car belongs to that last category. It was conceived in an era obsessed with hybrid everything, hybrid vehicles, hybrid furniture, hybrid lifestyles that fused motion and comfort into strange new forms. The inventor, a soft-spoken mechanical engineer with an affinity for unusual ergonomics, believed that modern life had worn people down to the point of exhaustion. If people no longer had time to rest, he thought, then rest must be brought directly into the structure of everyday movement. What if sleep could travel with you? What if relaxation could coexist with mobility? And so, he built the first prototype of what would become known half-mockingly, half-affectionately as the Quadricycle Bed Car. At a distance, it looked like a bed mounted on 4 oversized bicycle wheels, supported by a lightweight steel frame. A canopy arched overhead, shading the occupant from the sun. The mattress, surprisingly luxurious, was secured with straps that ran beneath it like veins in a leaf. Pedals extended from the sides for auxiliary riders, but the bed itself had a steering bar within arm's reach of the person lying atop it. In theory, one could recline in full comfort while slowly pedaling themselves through the city like a dream on wheels. But the strangeness of the device was not merely its shape. It was the atmosphere it created around itself. When the first tests were performed in a quiet suburban neighborhood, people did not react with laughter, as the inventor had predicted. They reacted with uncertainty. Something about seeing a bed glide silently across pavement touched an instinctive part of the mind, a part that associates beds with safety, privacy, and stillness. To see such a symbol in motion felt like watching sleep itself escape its boundaries. Test volunteers described mixed sensations. Some reported a hypnotic calm, lulled by the gentle rocking of the wheels and the hum of motion beneath them. Others described an odd feeling of vulnerability, the sense that they were lying still while the world moved around them, exposed, floating, almost unanchored from themselves. City officials allowed limited trials, partly due to curiosity, partly to appease the inventor's insistence on the social value of mobile rest. For 2 weeks, select volunteers pedaled the Quadricycle Bed Car along designated routes. Observers took notes. Cameras recorded reactions. And slowly, an unexpected pattern emerged. People who spent long periods drifting through the city in the bed car began to develop a sense of dislocation, a subtle but growing detachment between their bodies and their surroundings. They reported moments where the edges of the world felt softened, blurred, unreal, as though they were watching the city from behind a thin membrane. Some described it as peaceful. Others found it deeply unsettling. One participant noted, "When you lie down, your mind expects stillness, but everything keeps moving. Eventually, you stop knowing which of those sensations is real." Over time, the line between rest and wakefulness grew faint. Subjects drifted in and out of microsleep as they pedaled, their minds slipping into dreamlike states even while they remained physically active. The boundary between dreaming and navigating, between drifting and steering, became strangely porous. One of the most unsettling findings came from a nighttime test session. A volunteer, half asleep, steered the Quadricycle Bed Car down a quiet street. Observers watched the footage later and noticed that the volunteer's eyes were closed for nearly half a minute at a time. Yet the bed car moved with precise, almost uncanny smoothness. It glided around obstacles with a slow, drifting elegance, as if guided by something deeper than conscious attention, or perhaps by a body that had learned to navigate without its waking mind. The inventor insisted this was proof of the device's brilliance. The mind relaxes, the body remembers, the bed allows a natural rhythm of movement. But the research assistants grew uneasy. They noted that the longer subjects used the bed car, the more their sleep cycles fractured. Their dreams became vivid and strangely directional. Dreams of drifting streets, of moving sidewalks, of floating through cities on soft wheels. The sensation of motion followed them into sleep, even after the tests ended. One volunteer reported feeling the rolling of the wheels beneath him long after he returned to a regular bed, as if something in his inner rhythm had been rewired. Eventually, officials deemed the device impractical for public streets. It was quietly shelved as a piece of experimental eccentricity. The inventor, disappointed but undeterred, stored the prototype in his workshop. There it sits to this day, a fully made bed resting on oversized bicycle wheels, waiting in the dim quiet for someone to climb onto it again. Some visitors swear that if you touch the steering bar, it shifts slightly under your hand, as though remembering old routes. Others say the mattress seems to sink differently, as if expecting the weight of someone drifting between waking and dreaming. But the feeling most people report is simple. When you stand beside it, you can almost feel motion. Faint, gentle, rhythmic, as though the bed is still gliding forward through some quiet street in a dream no one finished. Ending. And so, our quiet journey through the strangest inventions comes to an end. Each device, no matter how unusual or impractical, carried a small reflection of human curiosity, the desire to experiment, to play, to solve problems in ways no one else imagined. In their own strange ways, these inventions remind us that creativity has no boundaries, and that even the oddest ideas can reveal something about the world and about us. If you enjoyed this gentle exploration, I invite you to support the channel. Leave a like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. I always love reading your perspective and hearing which story stayed with you the most. And if you feel inspired, share this video with someone who might enjoy a calm moment before sleep. Thank you for being here. Rest well, take care of your mind, and may your night be peaceful. Sweet dreams.